Your team is not failing, but your induction just might be. In conversation with me today, two respected leaders, once again, open, candid conversations, inductions in the early years. Welcome to another episode of the Let's Talk Early Years podcast. In studio with me today, Latoya and Fatima. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you, ladies. Today we're talking induction. We've dealt with the policies. That's like a whole season that we need to break apart and share with the rest of the early years community. Today we're talking induction. Now, we spoke about policies and procedures not being a once-off, not being paperwork that we keep in our reception in a beautiful file. Induction very much forms a huge part of our policies and procedures. Why are they so important?
So induction of your staff is the most important thing because it sets the foundation for them into the business, into the culture of your company, and embedding that so they become a part of the team. So if you don't get that right at the beginning, you're then going to have to try and fix it later on.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying in the beginning, so induction is before they
even
yes.
join. Yeah.
I think it works together with recruitment, doesn't it? So when you're recruiting, you have certain stages, and then you choose the people that you want to come and work with you, and now you need to induct them. You need to bring them into your family. So you set the tone, Mel, when you create a proper induction. And when I mean a proper induction, I don't mean, oh, you're great in the classroom, you've worked somewhere else, here, throw you in. Okay, it's really important to make sure that these people, the people that you're hiring, or the ladies that you're hiring, the teachers that you're hiring, the assistants that you're hiring, even your admin staff and anybody on front desk that you're hiring, understand the culture of the environment, like Latoya said, to set the tone, to say, listen, this is how we do things here. Is there anything that you do differently? Or getting to know the person, so they get to know you and you get to know them. And it's really important that induction is done in an emotionally intelligent way, knowing the person that's coming on to do the induction.
I think it gives an opportunity for you to then get to know that person, right?
Better, much better.
And for everybody else too.
So what you're saying is that induction, again, same as policies and procedures, are not reserved only for that inset, for that immediate joining. It starts before the candidate has joined our team. Mm-hmm. We've already started inducting them into the culture of our nursery setting.
From the minute that you sent your
offer
letter,
right?
How you set that tone in that letter, you can come across with not your expectation but your personality. So how welcoming you are starts from that first.
You're assuming that the manager is doing this, right?
Even if it's not, it could be a cultural thing. So even if it is from HR, it doesn't have to be so official. It's like, we can't wait for you to join. You can have some enthusiasm in it. So it doesn't have to be from the manager. And it's great if it's not, because then it sets a tone that actually throughout everybody, we have this homely cultural feeling, depending on what you want for your nursery. But from that initial letter, it starts the tone.
What are we sharing with them before they join the team? Before they come into the setting? And now we spoke earlier about a team member, and we'll call that person Miss X, right? Who interviewed really well, who had all this foundational knowledge, who spoke really well, was really well presented, and arrived, and we have almost zero ability to implement all the knowledge that they have. And you advised that, did that member actually come in for a trial? How important is this for induction?
Oh, it's important. One, it allows you to observe the between each staff member, the interaction, and how she presents, how your new employee presents herself, how the current staff are presenting themselves. And it gives you an indication of that character, because that's most important, whether they're confident, shy, all of these things that you can then help to decide how you're going to introduce them and into the business or into the nursery. So you have to start with the introduction is just not about seeing them with the kids. It's about seeing them with the staff as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
If there's a magic.
Yes.
Yes.
And that starts from your recruitment time. So when you have interviews, they should be in stages. So the first stage is when you talk the talk, right? So she can give you all the information and give you all the rainbows and stars and moons about, what they know about early years, or, their knowledge seems perfect. But then can they walk the walk? Mm-hmm. So the walk is then your trial session, which is your next stage as well. And then also what I do as well, when they come for a trial, and if they can only do 1 day, I prefer 2 days, so on different timings. But if they can't do it the same day, what we do is we have a process that after they do their trial, we also have a room with all different kinds of risk in the room, in one of the rooms, because we had a couple of rooms empty in the nursery, and I wanted a strategy to be put in place to say, can they do a risk assessment? So we leave them to the room and we ask, and then we give them a form and we say, what risks did you find inside this environment?
I love this. Yeah. This is fantastic.
So this is taking the time. I would rather go inside a class myself. I'm a qualified teacher. So I would rather go into a class which doesn't have a teacher, rather than panic and get somebody from outside, give them no induction, no proper understanding of whether we want them here or whether they fit our ethos or not, and then put them in a class. I wouldn't do that to my children. We owe it to our children to have the best staff, first of all. So the reason why I do this is because I was racking my brains the same way, where when we had people who come to the table and they're like, oh, we can do this and we can do this. And we were like, oh, you sound amazing. You checked all the boxes, right? But it wasn't always checking those boxes. It was later on, they were actually the people who were the lazy ones, who didn't want to do what you had asked. Also, they some people, when they come into your environment, when they say, when you have one bad fruit, they kind of affect everybody. So they come in and they put their ideas into your environment, which is untrue, because we're quite clear with our communication with our staff, right? So when this one person comes, they put the doubt into your members of staff, and then they build a union. And I've seen that happen time and time again. And in my head, I feel like, what can we do to prevent this? And it all starts from recruitment.
Right? It definitely does. But I will also, going back to what you were saying, which is one example of how the risk assessment in the room, we did that. Then you have bringing staff in to read a story to the kids. Again, I've employed more staff from their day induction in a room than I have from interviews.
Mm-hmm, same.
Because I get more from that. And I think personally, because I'm that person, I'm not the best in interviews. So I've learned that over time. And I'm more of a practical person, so I can demonstrate my practicality.
I think there's value in both.
Yeah, and I do think that's a flip side.
In both opportunities there, and that's good personal reflection. I love that. But I think there's value in actually having this one-on-one conversation. I do think that even this conversation needs to be first one-on-one, and then a panel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think two is always better than one. Yeah. What you take from the interview is not necessarily what I can bring to the interview, and the questioning is different.
And it has to be a different type of person.
Yes.
So like my deputy was more academic than me. Right. So she would be that person who would tune into things that I may miss. Yes. And I was like, right, love this.
Remember, we're trying to bring someone who's the best fit for the nursery school, like you said, for the culture, for the kind of children, for the families that we have here, the kind of person who has the knowledge base and the understanding of the actual pedagogy that we want to translate. So it's multifaceted, right? So we bring this person in, we've had our series of perhaps 3 interviews, then we've had a practical, maybe 2-day demonstration. It sounds laborious, but I think we spoke about it in a previous episode about our duty of care. And you touched on it now. We have a responsibility to the children to bring the best possible child to come and take care and educate them. Right. So now we've done these steps. It's time for them to start in the nursery. Between the time we've made the offer and the day that they've started, they've had a trial day as well. What is the information that we've shared with them in the interim?
Well, you have a selection of policies and procedures that they even read before they even come into the building.
So like your safeguarding.
Okay,
right?
yeah. And then who their team are, who their classroom is. So like I used to do with the kids, and I would send something home and it said, this is your teachers, this is your thing. I did that for staff as well.
Yes.
So, and it was like, this is your room, and also we used to capture their interest. So in it might be like, someone loves playing the flute, just simple little things that you may resonate now with someone. And we would get the same from you. So the teachers in the class would know something about you before you got there.
Yeah.
And we felt that was a great icebreaker.
So it's like an all about me. I did exactly the same thing. How great minds think alike.
Yeah.
So we actually had an all about me for new members of staff, Mel. And same as what Latoya said, we actually called it all about me because that's what we use for the children. And so we used to put it on a file for that member of staff, and that was always, and we'd always go back, and members of staff had access to the files at all times. And I would always say, guys, even in the summer when we have our 1 week of training, we say, hey, go and check out your files or see what and people that have been with you for a long time, or they've been here and they're like, oh my God, did I write this? Maybe I just wrote it because I wanted to sound like, great. But even from there, you see people's strengths, right? So if somebody plays a ukulele, right? You've got a musician in the nursery, right? So we're going to use this musician in the nursery.
And it brings them in, because now you're like, look, I know that you like this.
Yes.
Do you want to do a music
It's a personal
session?
touch.
Something that they're comfortable with, that everybody,
personal touch is really, really important, because it's not a transaction, is it, Mel? When you hire people, you have to hire with heart as well. So you want to impress them. And I think there's a gap in this. There's a gray area, because when people hire people, they feel like, we've hired you, do your job. And I feel that it's a bit of a culture here. Not everybody does this, but it is a bit of a culture here. So it's like we're hiring you, we're the boss, we're hiring, come in and do your job. But I don't want to do that. I want to impress people. I actually try to sell myself to my members of staff, because it's really, really important to do that.
Well, in a market like what we're experiencing in the UAE currently, Fatima, jobs are abundant out there. Excellent nursery schools, they are amazing nursery schools that are currently recruiting. So the market currently is for the job seeker, that they can pick, choose and refuse a nursery setting to be employed by.
You're right.
So you're very right in saying that as an entity, we actually need to sell ourselves and sell our culture to these members to come and join us.
And
we
get
need
the right quality.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we said earlier also that we're not looking for perfection, but we're looking for members of our team who aspire to that level of excellence, to that level of understanding that duty of care is always going to be the foundation that we work from. Yeah, so we've shared our policies, we've asked them to read through it, we've asked them to sign it on the day that they've arrived. Boom, they've arrived for the first day of work.
They need to meet with the manager first and foremost. They need to have that one-to-one first meeting, introduction, welcome, and the show around.
Okay, so we do.
And you'd have a buddy as well. So before a person comes in as well, hey, you should have somebody in HR. I know we don't have huge teams, but I was very, very fortunate at Erudio to have a team of people who worked with us on different processes. So we would have a buddy for them so if a teacher is coming in, the teacher would have a teacher buddy. And can I go back to interviewing? Because when you said you have a panel, in my interviews, if I had a teaching assistant come for a interview, I would have a teaching assistant on my panel. If I had a teacher, and very rarely, sometimes we wouldn't be able to have that if they came during the day. But if we could make time for that to happen, we would make sure that happens. And the reason why we do it is to empower our staff too, to show them that, look, we value our team. So, and I introduced that. I introduced them saying, hi, this is my head TA, X person, and this is who I am, this is who I am. And, we're going to have a chat with you.
Fatima, I see a phenomenal amount of reflective opportunity in what you've just said. This is powerful. I see that the TA is not just empowered to question, to meet this new member of staff, but she's able to reflect on the work that she's actually doing in the setting. And that is empowering, and then also to create this relationship and rapport with the candidate to say that, are you able to do the work and carry the work that I'm currently, this is a learning opportunity for me.
And that's
I'm
empowerment.
Take that one.
That's an empowerment for your staff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And also the person in front of you to see that, look how much we value our members of staff, right? We need to show that. We don't have to hide how much we value our people. We do value our people, and we're going to show that. And this is the way to show people. This is the way to show people who come for interviews. So in inductions, when people, and I have another system, and again, I'm a strategic leader, and because I'm ADHD, I have a lot of information that goes around in my head in a different way. And I process things in a lot of different ways, like out of the box. So I always think, how am I going to do this? And how am I going to make it different? What values am I going to bring into this? I just don't want one value. I want 5 values in this. How am I going to do that? So when people come into my environment, when teachers or employees come into my environment, I actually value them. So when they come in, I don't just shove them in a classroom and say, hey, you're a teacher of this classroom. Take it away.
Yeah.
Do your job.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
We let them learn our
Well, that's
culture.
a failed induction.
Exactly.
That's a failed
So
induction.
we have I don't know if I've ever told Latoya about this, but we actually have a separate uniform for any new member of staff. I did tell you, right?
Yeah,
we have a separate uniform for a new member of staff. So an apron, an orange apron that used to say new staff or volunteer staff. So and even parents knew about this. So if they saw anybody with an orange apron, it would mean that this person, there's different sections to this. So first of all, they're new, okay? Secondly, this person hasn't completed their first phase of induction. So that means all the safety procedures, health and safety, employee code of conduct, HR, etc. So this person who wears an orange apron is not able to take a child to the toilet on their own. They're also not allowed to be left alone with any of the children, right? And I always tell the person in the orange apron, if anybody does that, you have to come and speak to me because it's not allowed, right? It's a policy, and we send these policies beforehand. And we also send to them what they should be wearing, something comfortable, wear something comfortable shoes, your nails should be super short. So for health and safety reasons. So all of these things are actually put into a guideline. It's called a guidance for a new joiner. So when they come in, this is our first system. And whether you're a teacher or even any management level, you would still do the same thing. So if it was for me, I would wear that apron too, until I didn't finish my first phase of induction. And then you transition into the actual nursery uniform t-shirt. And people used to applaud and celebrate it in the staff room when somebody used to get it.
I love that.
So
again, I'm just seeing these opportunities that you're creating for the teams to collaborate.
Yes.
I love that. You're saying you're thinking about 5 million things at the same time. I see that your heart and your essence really is about creating this teamwork, this culture around this new person, for really inducting them into the culture.
And then they get to see the environment properly. And also when they wear the orange apron, they know that their responsibility is just at the time to get to know people, to observe the environment, to ask their questions.
You've taken away the pressure from the expectation, because sometimes when a new teacher comes in, everybody else expects that teacher, right? Now you're leading. No. Whereas if they have that visual reminder for the rest of the staff.
And I want this though. When teams are struggling with accountability, when teams are struggling with execution, how often does that point to a lack in our induction?
A lot, actually. I think it's a main part. If this is happening on a regular basis, or is happening with a few people, more than one, or I'd say more than 4, I would say that was because the induction wasn't done quite well. And I would reflect back on that.
And you spoke about communication. And that got me thinking.
I have phases. I have 3 phases.
That it's not a one-off, like we said in the beginning. It's not just for that inset week where we've brought our new staff at the end of August, and now we've decimated the staff handbook and the parent handbook and the teaching and learning guide, and that's it. No, it's ongoing.
It's definitely through the whole probation period.
Yes.
So first and
3
foremost.
to 6 months.
But for a manager, it's actually for the first 12 months, because you meet them on their first day, you meet them quarterly. You should meet them quarterly for their first year, at least for that one-to-one. Doesn't need to be a long review, but how are you getting on? How are you? And then you sum it up at the end of the year. One of the things that I used to do is bring in, so on their first day, I would give them, and I would be like, right, you write your letter to yourself in 12 months, what you want to get, what you don't. And then at the end of the 12 months, when we used to meet, that 12 months, we would look at it and say, how far have you come? How far have we achieved? Have I done what your like development wise, your have we achieved what your expectations were for us as well? And was it realistic? And it's something for us to review, laugh about.
So did it always meet their expectations? Because I've never done that before, and I'm really intrigued.
It doesn't on my side or their side?
No, their side. Like, do they? Is there a lot of changes in that? Like, oh, I did write this, but actually,
it's huge, because sometimes if they really are doing really well, sometimes they progress even further
beyond what they expected of themselves.
Or some people are like, I want to be a manager in a year.
Right.
Like,
Okay. Not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Or even pivot.
So it's worked vice versa. And then even for me, like,
I really like that.
Yeah. And sometimes they've come in and then they've said they wanted some form of progress in that time. And if it is being realistic and we haven't achieved that because our staffing was short and this and that, I then have to take accountability and be like, I'm really sorry that we didn't invest as much time in for you, but let's talk about the next 3 months or 6 months. So again, it shows that I've taken accountability and we've recognized why it might have been out of my control, but I haven't forgotten you. And then that provides a culture of, okay, even though you couldn't do it then, but I believe that you will. So again, for a manager, I think a whole 12 months for an individual.
For a manager's
sounds
induction,
a lot when
but
you think about
for a team member's
it's
induction
definitely the probation. Okay. I think the probation
the
period,
phases.
Which is normally,
You spoke about the phases.
Yeah, so there's separate phases. So as you said, we would have loads of policies and procedures, and we can't just shove them down somebody's throat in one go. So we have the main policies, procedures, processes, guidelines are in the first phase, and then the other 2 phases are gradual. So then it's depending on the person. It can change depending on you. Or how you're progressing in the nursery. Everybody has a different personality. So everybody deals with things in a different way. So those 2 other phases, but we are responsible for those phases. So somebody will always be responsible for those phases to audit them or look through them. But also there's different people who are put on your induction. So there is a checklist, and I know that induction is not a checklist, but to track it and for paperwork sake, we do have a induction checklist. And in the induction checklist, we have the phases, and we have the people who are actually processing through this with you. So you have a buddy, and then you have somebody from HR, and then if it's a teaching team, so if it's a teacher or a teaching assistant, then they had the curriculum manager also part of their induction. So and the nurse has a huge part as well. So if you have a nurse, the medical side of things and the health and safety side of things is your nurse's responsibility as well. So all the responsibilities are actually written on on the induction form as well, and the different phases. So that's really important. I think that induction is not 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's actually a good 6 months, and that's why even Labour Law gives you different probation periods, either 3 months or 6 months. I feel very strongly that in a nursery environment, on a teaching team, it should be 6 months. If it's on an admin level or a HR level or any operational level, I think that 3 months is okay. Yeah. But for teaching staff, it's 6 months.
So beyond the policies, beyond the tours, beyond all the paperwork, what do we add to give a valuable induction to our team members? What is something else that we can add? What is the thing, the magic that we're missing?
Something to do with team building. I don't think that gets done enough. So whether it's a team, that your classroom team meeting becomes a team building session, something that is a get to know opportunity. So for that one, it's not just about planning and now you're getting stuck into the nitty gritty of it. Let's get to know what about each other. Then let's get to know.
So to create an opportunity where they can meet, perhaps even in the nursery setting, but in a space where they can actually get to know each other on a personal level, beyond what happens outside of the nursery. So they know you've got children, you're married, you're staying here by yourself. I need to lend some support to you. Yeah,
because you're spending so many hours. This is the thing people always forget. So many hours with the people that you work with. No, you're not going to be best friends, everybody, but you are going to work together. So you have to gain respect on both sides. So that's the most important. So you need the opportunities to do that. And it's even more so when you're coming in as a manager or a teacher, you're now going to lead these people. Even more so, how you need to know them before they can respect you, right? And that doesn't happen overnight on that first.
But we want to create the opportunity, right? We want to create the opportunity, like you're saying, for them to get to know each other, for them to get an understanding, for them to also, when those hiccups arise during the time that they're working together, that they have empathy for their various situations.
And the other thing is coming away from that, going back to not necessarily policies, but procedures, things like your fire evacuations and stuff. Every time we had a new member of staff, we had to do a fire evacuation within a month, 2 months max.
Well, now we do them every 30 days as compliance, right?
Compliance.
Okay.
But again, procedures, bringing it to life and letting them live it and explore. Don't just wait for it to happen when it comes up. So again, just put in those opportunities around letting them identify risk. We were talking about risk and identifying risk in rooms, identifying what do you think of our room now and how it's structured and run. Again, embedding them into the culture of the nursery. It's fresh eyes. Make use of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fresh eyes coming in and looking in.
How am I going to know as a nursery leader that I've actually done well in my induction? What is going to be evident in my setting?
There will be a reflection. There will be a reflection on the attitude of your team member. And there will be a reflection on the way they walk in that nursery, the way they create their environment in their classrooms. It will be evident to you as a leader. You will see it. You will see them. If they're struggling, hopefully you'll see that. If they're doing great in their environment and they've really integrated themselves in, you'll see that. So all of these things is emotional intelligence. I think I spoke about it last time. Is so important for us leaders. If you don't have it, I mean, I don't think that you can even create that for yourself. But emotional intelligence is so, so important. You have to pick on people's vibes, the way people, their body language is, or how their performance is getting built. Are they coming late on a regular basis? Instead of penalizing them and telling them off, have a side word and say, hey, I've noticed that you usually used to come on time, and I've been seeing that some of the days that now there's like 15 minutes. Is everything okay? Can I help you? Can I support you? Because I do need you to be here at 8 a.m. in the morning, not 8:15. However, what is stopping you from coming on time? Can I help you?
And I think,
it might be something that they're going through. There might be roadworks near their house, or they might not be able to get up super early, or their child's timing might have changed at nursery or school, so they're not able to drop and come straight away. But they didn't mention it. So when you get to communicate with them for just these unofficial communication, you get to know quite a lot from your staff as well. So that's really important.
And I think for leaders, it's identifying gaps.
Yeah.
Because this is the whole point of probation period, because sometimes they come in and they're amazing with the kids, but they have no communication with the staff. There's a breakdown of communication with the staff, or they're amazing with the staff, and then the kids, okay, why is there a breakdown here? Is it because, and sometimes it's like, well, I haven't got the resources to do what I need to do. Or sometimes it's, well, one of the bigger things that I especially hear, sometimes it's a cultural thing, with people speaking in their home languages, and then that person's being left out and excluded. That's
a policy in itself.
Sorry,
that's a policy in itself.
But I know, but that happens.
It happens.
That is the biggest grievance that I've had or heard during that time of someone's introduction, when they've come and they're like, I feel excluded. because of that simple thing. And whether it was intentional or unintentional, again, comes back to policies and culture of what's happening. But again, if you don't identify that from early, you have a problem. Whether the staff member won't stay, so you've already lost them before anything else, or it's setting a you're building a problem.
So can I talk about that? Because I do something. So I'm really excited about this because I actually, again, I keep putting theories into test, right? So I did the same thing. I was trying to think, I've put a policy for this. We're an English speaking environment. The requirement for this job is everybody has to speak English, okay? So when everybody is speaking English, we're not going to speak in our own language, because where I come from in the UK, if we spoke in a different language in front of a person who didn't understand our language, it's actually classed very rude, right? Mm-hmm. But in some cultures, they're okay to do that. And I've seen that quite a lot here in the UAE. But at Nursery, it was like people did feel exactly what Latoya said. They felt left out, or they felt like they were talking about them, right? Yeah. Because if you two started talking in a different language that I wasn't, that I couldn't understand or speak, immediately I'm going to think, well,
you don't feel excluded.
Are they talking about me?
You're then reading body language.
Yes.
So we start laughing, and then you're thinking,
are they laughing at me? But it might not even be that. So what I did was, when we had a training once, and before the training happened, we had the policy, and then it was still happening. So people were snitching on people, saying, Miss, in the staff room, they keep talking in their language, and I don't think that's right, because we have a policy for it. So I was like, okay. So I put up a communication, and I said, guys, if I hear or somebody hears you speaking in a different language apart from English in the environment of our nursery, they're going to put 5 dirhams in a tub, right? So I actually followed.
Did you buy a new car?
No, I did not. I actually put a tub, and then we would buy KFC for the whole team if we made enough money. Right. But so I actually followed through, and then I said to people, if you do make enough money, then we get KFC. So it was an incentive as well at the same time. But then people started getting upset that they had to put 5 dirhams in. So I thought, what other way could I do? Like, where's a reflection? What could I? And I was reflecting. I was thinking, what other way? So when we had training, I actually did a role play. And I got people to talk in their own language, and I speak Hindi, right? So I said, I want 2 people to sit there and just continue to do Hindi, speak Hindi. And there's another person sat there. And then we did a question and answer. I said, so how did you feel? And then everybody changed. They understood what I meant.
Yes. This is reflection.
Right? Yeah. Because I didn't know how else to show them or make them understand that it's not culturally okay in our environment to speak a different language or make anybody feel left out. We even had a member of staff culturally, when we were talking about cultures, somebody spat in our sink and somebody went, ew, that's disgusting, and made that person feel so horrible about it. And that person actually cried, right? Came, and then we found out, and we had a communication. So we spoke to everybody, and we said there's better ways to say things. In their culture, it's okay to spit in the sink. Like in the UK, we used to do wudu. I'm a Muslim, so I pray. And I used to put my feet in the sink to wash my feet. And somebody said that to me. And it really, really upset me, because I'm just purifying, like I'm doing my wudu before, and we don't have facilities like we do here. Yeah. Right? And that really offended me at the time. And I was about 19 or 20 years old in my workplace. And so I always had that at the back of my head.
Essentially, you're saying a good induction is going to be evident in the relationships that exist between the members of our team. It's going to be evident in the execution of our policies and procedures, and it's going to be evident in the duty and the values that these educators or these new members portray when they are in the classroom setting.
Yes.
Yeah. Last words, final words, Latoya.
I think channels of communication, the buddy, I do want to just highlight the buddy. We mentioned it briefly, but it's so vital for everybody to have a buddy when they join, because they don't always want to go to the manager. They're just new. And having that person that sits with them I know it sounds like being at school, but sits with them and have lunch with them and make sure, please, I know we're always short for staff, but
I think that's just in your scheduling.
Just schedule
that they actually connect them with someone you think holds the same values or has something in common with them.
For me,
but I like that you're saying it's about creating a community.
From early, and giving them that that support, comfort support. And it will change. That might not be the person that they speak to throughout. They choose eventually.
The
but
idea is to make them feel comfortable.
Yes,
in
and
the
I
setting.
really do believe it works. I've seen it in practice.
And it's important to match the right people to the right people.
But that's why we had our All About Me for.
Yeah, there you go.
It all comes back.
So those are all the strategies that I think about in my environment. I always try and make things different. Like even with policies and procedures, I was thinking about it when we were going to have this conversation. I thought maybe we need a different name for it. Maybe we need something more warm or fun or something not so compliant sounding. So that was in my head, because even with the IEP's individual education plan, I didn't like that for nursery. So I changed it to IDP, individual development plan, because at the time the children are developing in care, right? So I thought that was more fit.
So when you come up with the new name for the
policies
and procedures,
or any of the audience,
And if the audience have any nice names, please let us know.
Absolutely.
Maybe we do need to change the language or some of the things to take away the heaviness. And some of them are serious, safeguarding, but I always
to make them more
warning
palatable,
letters.
right?
I think warning letter
needs a new name.
Yes, and again, we did the development plan. We're going to put you on a development plan instead of saying you've got a warning. You have been warned once, not twice, not 3 times, but 10 times.
Ladies, it's been insightful, but I love that we shared so many practical strategies for our leaders and educators.
And I learned so much too.
Away.
I mean, all the different things now I can add to my portfolio.
Yes, I loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Another insightful conversation with 2 of our nursery school leaders and veterans. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. This is Let's Talk Early Years.